mindfulness begins with emptiness. What if I told you that the path to true wisdom begins not with accumulating knowledge, but with letting it go? That real power lies not in holding on, but in releasing. Today we'll embark on a journey through ancient parables that will reveal the secret of mindfulness, a secret that sages have known for millennia, but which we often forget in the hustle and bustle of modern life. Mindfulness doesn't come through filling the mind with new concepts. It's born in emptiness, in the space between thoughts, in the silence between words, in the peace between emotions. First parable, the empty cup. There once lived a famous philosophy professor who considered himself a great sage. He had studied hundreds of books, memorized thousands of quotes from great thinkers, and could discourse for hours about the nature of existence. One day, he heard about a Zen master who lived in the mountains and decided to visit him to show off his knowledge and perhaps teach the old man some modern views on philosophy. The master greeted the professor with a smile and invited him for tea. The professor immediately began demonstrating his erudition, talking about his achievements, publications, and theories. The master listened silently and began pouring tea. He poured and poured, even when the cup was full. Tea overflowed the rim, flooding the table and dripping onto the floor. "Stop!" exclaimed the professor. "The cup is overflowing. Nothing more will fit." The master stopped pouring and said calmly, "Exactly right. And like this cup, you are full of your opinions and assumptions. How can I show you Zen until you first empty your cup?" This parable reveals a fundamental truth. We cannot receive new understanding until we make space for it. Our minds, overflowing with prejudices, old beliefs, and constant inner chatter, are incapable of perceiving the subtle truths of mindfulness. Emptiness here doesn't mean absence or lack. It's the creative space of possibilities. When we empty the cup of the mind, we create conditions for true understanding. In daily life, we often approach new situations with ready-made judgments. We meet people through the lens of our prejudices, perceive events through the filter of past experience. But what if we tried to approach each moment with an empty cup? Try it right now. Take a deep breath and imagine your mind is an empty cup. Don't try to fill it with thoughts. Just allow it to be empty. Feel this space, this openness. This is where mindfulness begins. Second parable, the bowl filled with ego. In an ancient monastery lived a young monk who was very proud of his spiritual achievements. He meditated longer than others, knew more sutras, and considered himself the most enlightened student. One day, the monastery's abbot gave him a special task. Take this bowl and fill it with water from the sacred spring. But remember, you must not spill a single drop. The young monk took the bowl and saw that it was already filled to the brim with some murky liquid. "Teacher," he said, "the bowl is already full. How can I pour clean water into it?" "What's in it now?" asked the abbot. The monk sniffed and grimaced. This is my pride, my achievements, my ambitions. All my I know, I'm better, I've achieved." "Exactly," smiled the abbot. And while this bowl is filled with ego, not a drop of true wisdom can fit in it. This parable shows us how our ego becomes an obstacle on the path to mindfulness. The ego is our inner narrator that constantly creates stories about who we are. It accumulates achievements, defends our self-esteem, and compares us to others. But true mindfulness requires liberation from this ego narrator, not destroying it. That's impossible and unnecessary, but freeing ourselves from complete identification with it. When we meditate or practice mindfulness, we often encounter resistance from the ego. It says, "I can't meditate. I'm not good at this. Others do it better." Or conversely, "I meditate excellently. I've already achieved enlightenment. I'm special." Both are obstacles. Real practice begins when we acknowledge the presence of the ego, but don't completely identify with it. We observe its games with curiosity and compassion, but don't let it control our experience. Try noticing right now. What thoughts about yourself are racing through your mind? What stories is your ego telling? Don't fight them, just observe. Create space between you and these thoughts. Third parable. 2 monks and a woman. 2 monks were walking along a road after a heavy rain. The road was muddy and slippery. Approaching a crossroads, they saw a beautiful woman in a silk kimono who couldn't cross the road because of the mud. Without hesitation, the elder monk picked up the woman and carried her across the muddy road. Setting her down on dry ground, he bowed and continued on his way with his companion. The younger monk walked in silence, but his thoughts were turbulent. After an hour, he couldn't stand it. "Brother, we took a vow not to touch women. How could you carry her in your arms?" The elder monk smiled and replied, "I left the woman at the roadside an hour ago. Why are you still carrying her with you?" This parable reveals a profound truth about the nature of attachment and letting go. The younger monk didn't physically touch the woman, but mentally carried her with him for a whole hour. The elder monk touched her, helped her, and instantly let go. We constantly carry invisible baggage, resentments, regrets, fears, expectations. We cling to past conversations, replay future scenarios in our heads, hold on to painful memories. But mindfulness teaches us the art of letting go. This doesn't mean we become insensitive or indifferent. On the contrary, when we don't cling to the past, we can be more fully present in the current moment. Letting go isn't a one-time action, but a constant practice. Each moment we can choose. Do we carry the burden of the past or set it down and move forward with lightness? Think, what are you carrying with you right now? What thoughts, emotions, situations are you mentally replaying over and over? Don't judge yourself for this. Just notice. And now gently, like the elder monk, set the woman down on the ground. Put down this burden. Allow it to be, but don't carry it with you. Practical application. These 3 parables give us concrete tools for developing mindfulness. The first parable teaches us to empty the cup of the mind. At the beginning of the day, before important conversations, in moments of stress, pause. Imagine your mind is an empty cup. Don't try to fill it with ready-made solutions. Allow new understanding to enter this emptiness. The second parable shows the importance of liberation from ego. When you notice your inner narrator has activated, bragging, comparing, judging, gently remind yourself, this is ego playing its games. Don't fight it, but don't let it completely control your experience either. The third parable teaches the art of letting go. Regularly ask yourself, what am I carrying with me that I no longer need? These might be resentments, anxieties, expectations. Thank them for the lesson and gently release them. Conclusion. Mindfulness truly begins with emptiness. But this isn't the emptiness of absence. It's the emptiness of possibilities. When we free up space in our minds, we create room for true understanding, deep peace, and authentic presence. Ancient sages knew the greatest power lies not in accumulating and holding on, but in releasing and trusting. In emptiness, fullness is born. In silence, wisdom. In letting go, true freedom. Start small. Empty the cup of your mind for a few minutes. Release one old burden. Create a little space between yourself and your thoughts. And in this space, you'll discover what you've been seeking your whole life, the deep peace and clarity of true mindfulness. Remember, the path to fullness lies through emptiness. The path to wisdom through letting go. The path to yourself through liberation from everything that prevents you from being yourself.